Okay, welcome. Well, I'm super excited to be with you today because I have got a wonderful guest, a fellow artist and coach, Christine Phillip. And we met only recently because Christine's wonderful YouTube channel popped up on my feed and I watched one of her videos and I thought, ooh, this is interesting. This is a very nice content, and this lady does similar work to I do, but she's doing it different. So I reached out and connected with Christine, and here we are. We are going to have an artist's chat, just a conversation between the two of us. You're joining us. There'll be laughter, there'll be bloopers, there'll be all sorts. There may be a cat. Christine's got a cat that likes to make guest appearances. Two cats. One's introverted though. So, welcome, Christine, and I'm so excited to have a little chat with you today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Crystal. What a wonderful surprise that was when you contacted me. I'm really thrilled. And I'm looking forward to our conversation as well.
Yeah, and we're
Yeah.
on opposite sides of the world. I'm in Australia
Yes.
and you're in Belgium. So today you're freezing. It's first thing in the morning for you and it's chilly. And here it's the end of the day for me and it's still really, really hot because we're in the middle of a heat wave. So we've just been complaining about our respective weather, shifts or poles. But anyway, thanks to technology and Zoom, we get to have this connection, which I think is pretty wonderful.
Yeah. And temperature-wise, we can meet in the middle,
We
basically.
can.
That would be the perfect temperature.
I like that. I like that. All right. So where I thought we might go first, and like, who knows where this conversation is going to go, but I loved the fact that you and I are essentially wanting to do the same thing in life. So we enjoy working with other creatives. You've got your monthly membership, The Muse. I've got my Patreon group. You see private clients, I see private clients, and we both want to really help other creative people on their journey into their fullest expression, inspire, support. Over to you.
Absolutely. That's
All right,
what we do.
that is what we do. But I guess what I wanted to find out for you is why. What drives you? What inspires you to want to work with people in that way?
Well, I'm coming from the fine arts. So my first career path was in the fine arts. I was a painter for over 20 years
Mm,
till I pretty much heavily burned out. And then I stopped it and I had to find another thing in life that I would like doing, you
mm,
know?
mm.
And so I went on to a little bit of soul searching and looking at my interests and my values. And I thought, well, I love when people feel good about themselves, when they are living a fulfilled life, when they feel comfortable in their own skin, when they can be creative, joyful, fun, and those things. And
Yeah.
so I decided to go on the path of learning lots of stuff about therapy. I went into hypnosis. I went into other modalities to help people change effectively
Mm.
and fast. And so I ended up in that sphere.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting what I discovered along the way because I thought, okay, when I stopped being an artist, it was really hard because my whole identity was surrounded by being an artist and how to be as an artist and that kind of thing. And I left everything and to come to terms with who am I when I'm not an artist anymore
Mm.
was really difficult to chew through. But then when I started to work in the therapy field and coaching field, I discovered, especially with hypnosis, listen, That's also very creative in a
Absolutely.
very,
And
very different
imaginative
way.
and yeah.
Very, very, very. And I can play around, I can tell stories. I can help people along the way to create the change that they want. So I am still a creative person. And this is what I did for more or less 10 years now. And last year I had an epiphany, Crystal. I don't
Tell
even know
me.
if I'm still answering your
You
question.
absolutely are, and you're doing it perfectly. I can't remember, enthralled is the word I'm looking for. Please go on. So, what was the epiphany?
The Epiphany. And this is such a, I have to say, beautiful story. I love to tell it. So last year, my father was 82 years old and he has been painting all his life.
Ah,
And last year, he had his first exhibition.
oh, bless him.
Yes. And so I went to see my parents and I helped my father to set up the exhibition, sorting out the paintings, doing the hanging, doing price list and determining the price and doing all the stuff that he needs to be doing in order to get a great presentation as an artist. And so we did that. But along the way, I discovered like, ooh, I feel a little spark again that I didn't
Mm,
feel for 10 years. Because,
wow.
yeah. And so I thought, like, I could start to create myself again. And so I started very silently, first, just to do stuff for myself. I'm doodling here, I'm doodling there, and it looked all horrible and clumsy and ugly because I'm totally out of practice of doing anything, but I enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
And so with that, I thought, like, you know what? Why do I have to do any sort of identification of anything?
Hmm.
I can be all of it. I can be an artist and I can be a coach and I can be a hypnotist and I can be a therapist and I can be so many more things if I want to, you know? And that led me smoothly to the idea that there are, I think, so many people out there who are creative, who would like to be creative but don't really dare,
Mhm.
and people who think I am not creative at all, but who knows, maybe they are, and they could be finding out if they are and how they are, because I think that the creativity thing is very woven into a story of fear. A lot of people fear creativity because it's challenging
Yeah.
in different levels to be creative, isn't it? So I'm babbling here.
No,
Crystal,
that's
stop
okay.
me.
You've taken me. Oh, there's so many directions I want to go in with that, but um, yes. All right, I'll go back to where I was going to go the first thing. And then if we can remember, let's come back to that fear about creating because I think that would be a
Mm.
really juicy thing for us to have a chat about. So my journey's a little bit different. I was the creative. Oh, was no similar. The creative first, and then I got to around 40 and I felt this deeper urge to I will own it. I judged that being a creative wasn't enough in our world, that I
Oh,
needed to become an art therapist in order to be
oh,
more value to the world and help people at a deeper level. So I also felt the split because being an artist is in my DNA, being a creative. It's just part of me. I cannot imagine life without it.
mm,
And I went through a little bit of a struggle once I had gained my diploma and was practicing as an art therapist. The inner artist in me missed having that creative expression to the same level. And so there was 10 years of inner battle with me, back and forward. And I'm a Gemini, so this part of me is going, be an art therapist. And this part of me is going, be an artist. And it's like, but there's only one me and there's not enough hours in the day. But finally, I think I've reached a perfect balance with that where I schedule enough time to work as an artist and grow myself into new areas of creativity. And I also work, I think, working with other creatives and other artists predominantly is for me the key because I just love to inspire people. I love to see them growing and expanding into that full expression of their artistic self. So that's how my two worlds came together. So similar to you, but slightly different. But I do love what you.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
go. No, go.
No, it was so interesting what you just mentioned. So I think personally, I think the inspiration goes both ways. So I find myself totally inspired by my clients as well. And I'm
Yes.
learning so much from them too. It's not just that I'm,
Oh,
the
yeah.
expert doing
Yeah.
the stuff.
Yeah.
No, they give a lot back. That's one thing that's for me very when the relationship between the client and me is fruitful, then
Yes.
it's like a real beautiful sort of relationship.
Yeah.
But there's the other thing that you mentioned, which I also find a very interesting topic. It's what was it again? Yeah, that you thought that you are as an artist not valuable enough. And I think that's a very interesting point because it's kind of there's two worlds. There is the society part that thinks artists, kind of stuff that nobody really needs,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
because they don't do anything productive, they do nothing, of value for society, huh? You
Mm,
know?
exactly.
But then there's also the other part that kind of worships artists,
Yeah.
and think they are gods of the society. And I think both of them are a little bit like, meh.
Yeah.
We're just people,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we're valuable just for existing.
Yep. But we're not taught that. We are conditioned that you have
True,
to be productive all the
true,
time, that
true.
being still or being present with yourself or just experimenting without actually making a useful object, simply painting for the joy of painting, or making a pot if you're a sculptor out of clay, just for the pleasure of it, without it being useful. So I think there's many layers of conditioning that have to be worked through. And I think that's also why, as you said before, people are fearful about expressing their creativity. One, it's just not encouraged to the level that I believe it should be for good mental health, for our soul's growth, to give our lives meaning and purpose. I think so many people are conditioned to work in a job that they do not like, that does not like their heart up every morning. I get up every morning and go, yay, what's today? Who am I working with? What am I doing? I never feel depressed or that work is work. I feel incredibly privileged and joyful that I get to do something that I love to do, and I get to play and help and interact with other people who also love doing, the same or similar things. And I just,
Crystal, you are living in an ideal world.
in my head, I am, but I'm showing up. So I
Mm.
believe that we are the change that the world needs. So I want to see a world that values the arts, that teaches the arts to young children in education and follows that through, that explains to people that art is a valuable part of our society. And I believe that that change has already started, but in the younger generations coming through, but it's going to take time. But if I'm living my life with that mindset and living true to that value, then everyone that comes into my world will be affected by that, will be impacted by that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And what I would like to add is that, when you are creating something, a piece of art, a piece of clothing, music, books, you name it, yeah, then it's not just for you. It comes from you. And the process of doing it is the joyful one and the deep one that you express yourself. But when you put it out into the world, the value is for the others. They create their value and meaning around what they receive from the piece of art that they are looking at or that they are wearing. A beautiful couture gown, Crystal.
Mm. I
Yeah.
know.
I tell you, probably, I mean, if I could afford one, it would do something for my well-being. Yeah, you know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So when people dress beautifully, somebody created it.
Mm.
When people are touched by books, by a piece of music, by a song, a pop song, by a painting, it gives them something. So what we are creating is not just for us, it's not just self-serving. It's for the good of other people, and they can take something out of it, meaning and purpose, and feel good or feel sad if they want to, because that's also
Absolutely.
a good thing, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, let's go down that road. Let's talk about how beautiful the creative process is to deal with our emotions. So
Hmm.
every part of that emotion, from grief to sadness to depression to joy to fullest expression of, many artists make political statements through their work. I've never felt the need for that, but I see many people that do, activist
Yeah.
art or self expression art. So I think we don't yet realize as a society just how many levels art works. We'll all get in the car and the radio will come on and we just take that song that's playing for granted. But music shifts us emotionally. It has a vibrational effect on our body. Like it's never ending. And I think as we become aware of the value of the arts and how much they do affect us in a really positive way, more and more people will be more inclined to find and tap into their creativity and to start expressing themselves instead of to push that down.
Yeah. But then we're back to the fear of being creative. Because when you are confronted with a beautiful piece of whatever art form that is, Um, I think a lot of people think like, I could never do that.
Mm.
You hear the other side of like, my son could have done it better, you know, or my dog could have painted it better, that kind of thing. So you hear that. But deep inside, I think a lot of people think like, oh, I could never write a song like this. I
Yeah.
could never paint this beautiful painting. I could never ever do this. I mean, the power of yet. Maybe you can do it, can't do it now, but maybe you can do it later.
Yeah.
But it's the first step to take. Would I be interested in doing something? Would that bring me joy? Would that be fun for me of experimenting with this? Something exploring that is new to me, so to get over the fear, of creating. We don't have to think of the result in the end,
Yeah.
but just the playfulness that we all have from day one of our life. Well, maybe not day one, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
When we
absolutely.
were, yes. So,
Because I think we're all born with that innate curiosity. And when we're children, we
absolutely.
draw stick figures or dogs with three legs, and no one says anything until you get to a certain age, and then the inner critic comes in, or teachers or parents or your siblings say, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
shit," or "That's this," or that, and then you start to realize, "Oh, it's not good enough," and that's just so sad because I truly believe that If you have an interest or an inkling or this little voice at the back of your head for 20 years that said, you could write a book, you could write a poem,
Mm.
or if you sing in the shower because you're naturally making up words to songs, but you never tell, you don't even entertain that idea. I truly believe that if there is something in your heart and in your soul that is that little spark is there, that idea is there, then that idea is meant for you. Because
Yeah.
I've dreamt of making couture gowns. Now I dream of being a really good illustrator. And I am skill
Mm.
building slowly but surely. Anyone can learn to draw and paint if you want to, if you're willing to put in the hours. Same with what I did in embroidery. Most people give up. They say, "Oh no, I couldn't do that." Well, you couldn't if you
Yeah.
don't try. But I believe if that spark was there, that spark is yours. It's meant to be. And you will get so much joy and satisfaction. There might be frustration along the way as we learn to
Oh,
do things,
yes. Oh,
but
yes.
that spark is being ignited, it's being followed. And there is a joy that opens up in my heart when I give that part of me expression.
I absolutely agree. And there's again two parts to the thing. You create, well, you build a skill, you learn how to do certain things, you learn something about colors, composition, and, just how to move your hand in certain ways.
Yeah.
But then, and I think it was Picasso who said it, that, well, I'm just butchering the quote here, but he said something along the lines that you build the skill, you learn everything, but then the real job is to forget everything that you have learned and then just to create. And that's challenging at times.
Yeah.
That can be, ooh.
Yes, I have taught hundreds, probably thousands now, of students all around the world, and I'll tell them, I'm going to teach you the basics, the
Mhm.
rules. This is how we do it. Once I've taught you those rules, I want you to go away and take only what resonates with you, make it your own, and add your own essence to it. But I think for me, I have a healthy respect for that basic foundation. If you've learnt correctly, you've got the tools there, you've built your skill level, and then you go out and you explore. And that's when it gets really interesting and really juicy because you're not painting by numbers. You're not following the dots that somebody's saying, put this here and this here. You have to tap into something deeper within you. And you have to be brave and courageous and tenacious. And you have to keep showing up for yourself, and that's where the gold starts to come.
Exactly. Yeah, the skill in the end is just the plus one. You
Mm.
know? So when you create a beautiful couture gown, for example, it is valuable to know how to do it, from the first sketches, but then also the skill of actually sewing it, and knowing something about the fabric and how the fabrics would go together and all of that, the skill building, this is absolutely necessary and that's very useful. But when you then in the end create this beautiful gown, um, you use the skills that you have as a plus one, you know how to do things,
Yeah.
but then the creativity part allows you to grow beyond that pure skill, um, execution, if you
Yeah.
will, because it's not execution, then it's really creative. You have your foundation, your basis in your hand, and then with that, boom, you create.
Yeah.
Right? That's
Absolutely.
what you, yeah.
Yeah. And as I think we move into the unknown, it's not always comfortable moving into the
No.
the new and the unknown. But if you have the courage to go there, that's where life gets really interesting because I think of it as we're remembering who we truly are. We're getting to know the essence of ourselves, not the persona that we've created. to be accepted and, to interact with society, but the real authentic person that's underneath that. And I'm in my 50s and I'm just every week, every year, learning more and more about myself. And also,
Mm.
I'm questioning like the things and the labels, people pleaser being one that I've taken on my whole life. It's like, do I want to continue in that role? Actually, no, I don't think I do. So, letting go of some of those conditioned roles that we've taken on, really checking in with my personality and thinking, is that really me? Or is that a false me that I've created to protect myself, to survive in the world? And if
How do
true,
you know the difference?
well, I think
How
you,
do you know the difference?
I don't know. I'll tell you in a minute. How do you know?
Well, I think I sometimes don't, unless in the aftermath, because not everything that we are saying and doing is conscious, There are so many unconscious processes that we are running that are automated that often in the aftermath we think like, oh my goodness, why the hell did I say this? Why the hell did I do that? So it's I think I can't really tell in that very moment
Mhm.
all of the time. Am I my authentic, true, best self?
Yeah,
I don't know. I am so many different. I am Christine, the therapist. I am Christine, the artist. I'm Christine, the daughter, which is completely different. Christine, the friend. Christine, the interviewee.
yeah,
Yeah. So, and all of them can feel right or wrong. And then it's interesting when we look behind what makes it feel right and what makes it feel wrong when we show up in certain ways. So the roles are important. We can't be Christine, the daughter, in the work environment. That wouldn't make really much sense. I mean, you know what I mean. So,
absolutely. We
but
all have,
it,
you go.
go on.
I was going to say, we all wear masks. We all have different roles in life. But for me, the key is not to get trapped into that mask. That when
Mm.
you've got alone time or creative time, it's about going internally, listening to that inner voice, that soul voice, that heart voice that wants to be a songwriter or wants to be a couture dressmaker or, a designer or whatever it is that inner thing is. And our mind gets in the way and says, oh, no, you can't do that. Or it's like, no, but you actually can. You actually can. And for me, when I know I'm being authentic versus being in my persona, I can tell in two ways. And I agree, not always in the moment, especially if we become triggered or we're in a difficult situation where you just need to put on that mask and, play the role. But I think as I can observe myself in the role, that's my authentic self. So if I'm immersed in the role and I've lost all sense of balance, then I'm out of balance. I'm out of authenticity. But if I
Mm.
can observe myself shortly after or while I'm making certain choices or decisions, then it's like, okay, that's this aspect of me making that decision, and that's okay in this moment. But I have the awareness of it.
Wow. I wonder, I mean, when we are living, we are kind of living, and we respond in the moment. I personally, I don't have all those thought processes going on when I'm saying something or doing something. Or am I now my authentic self? How do I determine that I take a step outside and have a look and observe and ask myself certain questions? Like you often find it in the self-help industry. You
Yeah,
just do step one, step two, step three, step five, and then you know. And when you know, you can change it. And I
yeah,
think it doesn't really work like that. It sounds great in theory,
yeah.
but when you're living and being, it, well, I don't. I can't do that, you know? So when I'm, for example, um, in a session with a client,
Yeah,
I am not existing. Well, because it's not about me. Everything I do is for that person and about that person right in front of me.
yeah,
And that is something that I find very valuable in the moment because I don't sit back there and think, oh, am I saying the right thing now? Am I coming across confident enough? Am I therapisty enough?
yeah,
Am I this? Am I that? No, because it's not about me. And I think that's when you kind of can be authentic, when you don't question yourself, when you don't ask yourself, when your focus is not on yourself, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
Because then we kind of consciously adjust our movements and adjust our words and adjust everything about us again to fit something, and then it feels false.
yeah.
But when we are not thinking about it, you know, when you think of, when are you the most confident, Crystal?
When
Probably
I,
when you're not thinking about confidence.
yeah, oh, I need to think about that. When am I loved what I'll think about that in the back of my mind while we're
Yeah.
talking. But when you described how you work with your clients,
Mhm.
that's what I could feel true authenticity coming through because it's
Yeah.
coming from your heart. You're there for
Yeah.
the other person. You've put all your issues to the side and you're bracketing those and being fully present. And I think we can bring that into our creative practice.
Oh,
And
yes, absolutely.
that's how we tap into the unconscious. We bypass that persona, those roles that we play, and through our art, our creativity, that's how our soul and our heart can have that expression. I agree with you that in the moment, if I'm triggered or unconscious, I'm not thinking about how I'm acting or making choices or what I'm about to say. But through years of meditation, it's really helped me to be the observer in the moment.
Wow.
Now, I can't
I
help
need to
that.
learn that.
I'm not enlightened by any, nowhere near it. It sounds like I'm saying, and it's not. And some days I can do it and some days I can't. But
Mm.
often I will hear myself react in a default way. And then straight away, the observer will say, hmm, is that true? Is that really you? Is that really the highest you that you want to be? Who's that answering? And it's like, oh, yeah, that's an old pattern. That's not really how I'm choosing to show up and be in the world now. And so I
Mm.
do slowly but surely, I think that awareness comes in. Now, if I'm really upset, really sad, or really angry, it's harder to get that perspective because I'm right in the middle of the projection or the emotion. But a lot of the time, and I'll have this little chat going on. It's like, do you want to make a decision that expands you, or do you want to go this way and make a decision that just keeps you in patterns of the past? And so that
Mm.
observer with me is there and working with me and guiding me more and more, I think. But that has definitely come through meditation.
Yeah, it's hard. It's well hard. It's work, it's effort. It's every day a little bit more
Mm,
or repetitive things to learn to get better at something. Crystal, you need to totally send me the blueprint. Step 1 to 5, because I'm not the meditating kind of person. It's difficult for me, depending on what kind of meditation. I'm offering creative meditations,
yeah,
which is very different because I or nobody has to sit still and close their eyes and just relax and turn off the thoughts and all of that. No, it comes with the doing,
yeah,
so that it's becoming pleasurable of
yes,
engaging with the meditation and opening the mind because you're relaxing when you go into a flow, then your mind and your body is relaxing and then it opens up
yeah,
more ways of doing things.
yes,
So that kind, yes, I've subscribed to. But the classic form of meditation, this is, I honestly have to say, really difficult for me. It's a challenge.
I agree. And I think for many people it is. I know when I
Yeah.
first started, I would set a timer for 5 minutes and I would sit there and my monkey mind would be racing. It's like 4 minutes,
Yeah.
3 minutes, 3 minutes. Like, how much longer do I have to sit here? No, that doesn't
Oh
happen.
shit, again a thought. And again, what? Did I do the laundry? I have to go shopping.
And the thoughts still come. Like it's different for everybody. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I think that has been a key for me in my personal growth and my artistic growth because I
Hmm.
would say that I'm not a very patient person in many
Hmm.
areas, especially in technology. We were just talking about that before we started recording. Christine's
Yeah.
having tech problems. I don't even want to know about certain tech issues that I have to face and learn how to do. But oh, now I've lost my train of thought of the tech.
You were talking about meditation.
Right,
Meditation,
meditation. See, there you
Crystal.
go. I think many people struggle, or it's kind of similar if people say, oh, you're creative, but I could never do that. Well,
Hmm.
actually, if you
Yeah,
really, really want to, you take baby steps. You do 2 minutes, or you find a walking meditation, or just being out in nature. That will start, calming
true.
your nervous system. And I did one of your creative meditations from YouTube, and I thought it was beautiful,
Thank
absolutely
you.
beautifully done. So, in many ways, I think it's just finding the form of meditation that works for you.
Hmm.
I think cooking can be meditation for some people.
Very much so. Yeah.
Personally, I hate it. It's like if I could afford somebody
Oh,
to cook for me, I would pay a chef to bring me beautiful organic
really?
meal. I don't enjoy cooking.
Hmm.
So we're all different. But yeah, just
Hmm.
finding whatever it is for you that allows you to get into that quieter, softer, more gentle place.
How often do you meditate and how long each time? Or is
Yep,
that also different?
it's been
Do you have like a
different.
routine?
I do now. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, I used to be different times of my life, I've done different things. At the moment, I get up an hour early and I do half an hour of meditation and half an hour of journaling because I love to journal and I just get all my thoughts out of my head into my journal. Not every night, but at the moment, I'm wanting to create some new chapters in my life. So I'm choosing in the evenings to turn off all distractions and to maybe do a guided meditation by Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's my favorite guy. And I will do that for up to an hour. And
Wow.
yep, it's a choice point though.
Hmm.
I come home tired. It's like, all right, am I going to numb out with Netflix? Or am I going to take a step towards creating the life that I truly want to live? And you know what? I would say now it's about 60-40. 60% of the time I choose Netflix and I numb out. And about 40% of the time it's like, no, I'm gonna do this. But for me, the morning meditation is non-negotiable. It makes me a better person. I'm calmer. It sets my day up. And then even if my day goes pear-shaped, I feel grounded. It reminds me to stay grounded in myself. And we can't control what happens on the outside in the world, but we can control our reaction to it. And that's what meditation really helps me with.
Yeah. And of course, in the beginning, it's very difficult because it's something unusual and new you start doing. But before it starts to become a habit,
Yeah.
it's work.
Yeah.
But once it's becoming a habit, it's kind of becoming part of you, and you would miss it if you wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Is
And
right?
I would
Yeah.
miss the benefits. I
Hmm.
feel different. So it's not like, look, if it's a cold winter's morning, it's harder to get up out of bed. I'm going to be completely honest about that. But it's not like, oh shit, I have to get up and meditate. It's like, I have the privilege, I choose to get up and meditate, to connect deeply with my inner guidance so that I can approach my day differently. So it is a privilege and a joy to do it. It's like anything. Nobody wants to do the same thing every day, and nobody feels the same level of joy. Even with painting, some days it flows beautifully and I have a lovely session. Other days I end in tears or frustration and it all gets put in the bin, and meditation's exactly the same. It's no different. But I think it's your intent and your mindset. I
Mm.
get to meditate, and then the benefits, as I see myself changing, as I see my life changing, as I see the people around me reacting differently to me,
Mm.
then that motivates me to get up on a cold winter's morning when I'd rather stay in bed for another hour.
Wow, I admire that. Maybe I should I should consider taking up meditation, maybe. Or do something else. I don't know. But I admire that,
Yeah.
when people can do that. Yeah, really.
But you're doodling, as you call it, and I had a look at your artwork and I think it's lovely. Even just, the movements that you make when you're doodling, that is a form of light meditation.
Oh, yes, I totally. When I immerse myself in my doodle session,
Yeah,
my evening, um, I listen to music, to my favorite music, and I start doodling. And in every time in the beginning, everything I do is kind of clumsy, and it's like it feels like I have to warm up my hand first
yeah,
before I really get going. It's very interesting that I observe that.
yeah,
And so the first stuff is for the trash bin
yeah,
that I do,
yeah,
And when I can then get over the frustration that everything I did today so far is for the trash bin and I just continue doing it, I
yeah,
suffer through it.
yes, yes,
Then sometimes I'm blessed with a beautiful doodle here, a beautiful doodle there, and work that really excites me and that gives me pleasure
yeah,
doing it. So yeah, and I'm kind of when I'm immersed in that, I kind of disappear. I'm not in this world and I'm somewhere else. I have no idea where I am, but in a separate universe doing something. I'm so in the doing, in the flow of doing it, in the experience that it is indeed a form of meditation.
yep.
Much easier for me to do than your form of
And
meditation,
that's
I
okay.
admit.
That's okay. We all have our
Hmm.
own. But can
Yeah.
you imagine how the world would change if everybody was experiencing exactly what you've just described
Hmm.
beautifully on a daily basis, or 3 times a week, or at least on the weekends? The
Yeah.
world would
It would
change.
I think too. I think the world would change because people would change. And when people are more fulfilled and satisfied and content, with what they are doing and who they are, um, they behave differently
Yes,
and they get different things back because it has a ripple effect. When people are treated well by people, they treat other people also better because they feel uplifted,
absolutely.
uplifted and respected. And yeah, and so people give to other people, and the more people give to other people,
Mm,
the more content and satisfied and happy people become. And happy people don't hurt people, do
yeah,
they?
no, exactly
Because they are
right.
busy being happy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Look, one of
So
the
yeah, I
reasons
agree.
I started having these artist conversations and putting them up on YouTube was because I love to talk to other artists and other
Mm.
creatives and just hear how they experience their creative process. So just then, when you said, yeah, I have to warm my hand up and the first drawings that come out end up in the bin and then we have to push through. And it's like, we all are different, but there is a similar thread with every creative that I talk to. And every time I meet another artisan, I learn something more about the creative process. because I just don't think there's enough education about the creative process. It's not all unicorns and fairies. You know,
Mm.
sometimes it's
Yeah.
really hard slog. And sometimes we can spend days or hundreds of hours or whatever on a painting or a song or whatever it is, a garment. I've put whole garments in the bins that, you know, just I couldn't even look at it
Yeah.
anymore. It was just such a failure that it was like, next. I have a beautiful, a
Give
lovely,
them to me next time.
oh no,
Just
this
send
is
them
my
over.
God, I have a beautiful artistic friend who'll just look at something, one of her artworks, go, I just binned it. It was like, as me, I'm trying to rescue it, you know, give it CPR and bring it
Mm.
back to life. Let it grow. That one's for the bin. Okay.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Sometimes you know it, and sometimes you really fight for that thing to come back to life and out of the coma. And it's not working. It's not working. Yes, you come to life. No, I'm not. Yes, you do. No, I'm not. Sometimes it's
Oh,
it's this fight, but
yeah,
sometimes you know very early on, like, oh no, come on, trash. There's
yeah,
nothing I can save.
yeah,
It's funny how the gut knows sometimes much more than we do, and
yeah.
tells us, nah, nah, yes. Swipe left, swipe right, swipe
Absolutely.
left.
Because especially if I've invested like 50 hours into something, not
Mm,
first of all, it's the emotional investment because I wanted to
mm.
create whatever that was, drawing, painting, garment. Then I've invested time
Ooh, I
and
lost you.
energy into it. You're back, I think. Yeah. And then they're the ones that I find it hard to let go. So she was a little bit older than me, a little bit more experienced in the artistic world, and that was the best piece of advice I've ever learned. And it's still a practice for me, but it ties into my perfectionist tendencies. Now, if I can see a painting's not coming out well, I will bin it early on. Or, excuse me, I give myself permission then to get really bold. It's like, okay, this one's for the bin, so there's nothing to lose here. I wonder what would happen if I did this brush stroke here or I use this
Mm,
color here. And that's where I learn. It's like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Look at that. And it's when I'm not attached to the outcome, when I'm really in
absolutely.
that playful energy and my care factor has dropped right out and I'm not invested in it emotionally, that's when something new can come through.
Absolutely. 100%. I know this very well. Yeah, so true.
Beautiful.
Mm,
So we're coming up to the hour, so let's wrap things up. After everything we've talked to about today, it's been a great discussion. Thank you. If there's somebody out there listening to this who's on that fence, like they want to create, but they're too scared, just can't take that first step, what would you say to them?
Okay, Crystal, I'm sorry, I have a cliche. I'm coming up with a cliche.
Let's have it.
You have to just do it.
Yeah,
You fear it and you go through the fear.
yeah,
It sounds so cheesy and so cliche, but I think that's just the way. It is that very first microscopic step that you take. And then your brain gives you a dopamine hit. You
yes,
know, you have achieved something, you have done something. Might not be great yet, but you have done something different. And then you encourage yourself to do one more step and one more little step and
yeah,
one more. So, as cheesy as it sounds, I
yes.
think the only way is through.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And I think there are so many people out there who have had that creative spark inside them for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years,
Mm,
longer. And now is the time. I truly, truly believe that everything that's going on, the craziness in the world, now creativity is more needed than ever before.
yeah.
And so here we are. You can work with Christine. You can work with me, depending where in the world you are. Um, we would,
I'm independent. I can work with everyone from everywhere.
that's thanks to technology, we can.
Exactly, exactly.
It's a beautiful thing. So I will put all of your details down in the show notes, and I'll add all of my details down in the show notes. And Christine and I would love to work with you. If you are that person who is right on that fence, who knows there's that burning creative desire in you that you've been pushing down, and you're ready to take that first step, and even if you're petrified, that's okay. We're here to help.
Absolutely. So I have to say thank you, Crystal, for having me, for inviting me, and for being such a wonderful host. Time was flying by. We are on
I
it already for an
know,
hour.
I
So
know.
I could continue and go on.
Well, I think we will. Let's make this a regular chat. And
A series. Yeah.
yeah, because there's just so much juiciness when I think
Hmm.
we start to unpack and explore these topics. So thank you
Absolutely.
for your
Thank
time
you
and the
so
pleasure
much.
of the
Yeah.
conversation.
Thank you.
And I will look forward to our very next chat.
Ah, so am I.